Hi, welcome back to Repairing Lawnmowers for Profit. In this video I've got this Atco, which is a Viscount 19 SE. This has got a big Quantum XTL 50 Briggs and Stratton engine on. I've just been servicing this. I'll show you some photographs. I've just cleaned all the underneath off. You can see how thick and dirty it was with all this grass built up. Taken that off, taken this like windmill off from underneath if you like, cleaned it all, sharpened the blade, balanced it and put this back on. But while I'm just doing this, I've changed the oil. I'm just going to take off this air filter box here. I want to take off some of this housing here and round the back so we can just get in and have a good look round. I'm going to check all these cooling fins, make sure it's not all full of dirt for this customer. And I want to show you where the linkages and all the governors and the springs go and everything to the carb while I've got this off. So if you're looking for a video where you see where all the connecting rods and springs and linkages are on a Quantum XTL 50, stay tuned because I'm going to take these covers off and I'll show you exactly where these linkages hook up. So the first thing we'll need to do is just remove this spark plug lead here. Do that on any repair. I've done all the underneath of this as well with the spark plug actually removed. I've actually replaced that. So what you need to do this is you just need to get a screwdriver in here and this whole air filter box will drop off. Real simple to do. These are real good engines of these. Good strong Briggs engines. So you just take that out and the whole thing will drop down and pull away. You can see like that. We can take this air filter out. I've actually got a different air filter, a new air filter to put in there for this customer as well. So I'll take that off. This whole air filter comes away like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this top cover here. Looking on the top it looks like there's a couple of screws to take out, so we'll start by taking those out nice and carefully. Don't want to round anything off. Let's get my metal parts tray, which is a big lawnmower. This one, it's very wide. I'm not sure what year it is, but I think this customer's had it a few years. He just wants it servicing. Said he's had it serviced every year, but I've looked underneath this today and it's, you know, there's 3 inches of, at least of grass on the underside of the deck. I'm not saying they haven't serviced it and that collected in 1 year, but it didn't look like it had a really good looking at for a long time. So real simple, 2 screws and this whole engine cover comes off. And just to reiterate, this is a Quantum XTL 50 Briggs and Stratton engine. We can see all these linkages in here, so I'll set the camera up and I'll show you all these linkages from the top. So hopefully you can see well there, but this throttle linkage here, if I move the throttle at the actual top of the mower on the handle, you can see this is how the throttle actually operates. That's on full speed there, and on the slower speed it moves back, if you like, towards the engine that way. So that's the throttle. You've got the governor spring across here. You can see how this connects here. It's going to move things about a little bit for anybody who's just trying to reconnect one of these. And you can see here how this other end of this governor spring hits this linkage here, and this linkage actually hooks here through the furthest hole, which is at the furthest point that way, if you like, from my finger. So if you've taken that apart and you're not sure about that, that's where that goes. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take this air filter box off here. Looks like 2 8mm bolts that go through there, so I'm going to take that off. So I've just got an 8mm socket here. We're just going to take these off here real carefully with this, making sure we don't actually strip anything off. There's only a couple of these bolts by the look of it. Oh, there's one more up there, that's spot 3, and I think this air filter box should come off. What I want to do with this is take the air filter box off, take this top recoil cover off here, so I can have a real good look in here and clean out anything that needs cleaning out. So I'm going to take these parts out now, put them aside in a metal tray that's got a magnet on it. It's like a magnetic tray, so don't lose any of these parts. Make sure you take note of the length of them when you take them out as well, because you may get some that are longer than others. So I'm going to drop them in my tray. And the third one's just hiding at the top of here, the top right hand corner, exactly where you want to score a goal if you're taking a free kick. Anyway, top bins I think we call it, don't they? Top bins if you're watching Soccer AM. Anyway, I'm not up to date with all these trends anymore. So anyway, let's take that one out. We've got those 3 parts out. Let's see if this little air filter box wants to move away. There's a breather connected on the back. That's all pulled away. That was so simple, wasn't it? And this actual breather here, see this little pipe here, that was connected to the back of the air filter box. So that must go back on when we put that back. So we've got whole access to all this now. You can see exactly how everything moves and where it goes. And I'll just move these linkages about so you can see exactly what I mean. They're all moving nice and freely really. They're a little bit sticky, they want a little bit of a clean up, which is something I'm going to do in a minute. I'm going to clean all this out in here with some old fuel, make sure it stays nice and clean, and make sure no dirt goes down this actual carb hole as well. They're just beginning to stick a little bit, but they're not too bad. So real simple setup. You've got a governor spring here, the throttle linkage across here, which leads to the throttle cable, which is here. The throttle cable actually hooks over the top, down and under, so it goes like this and then down and then under. Best description I can do with my finger. This whole thing just moves backwards and forwards, which links to the governor arm. So what I want to do next is remove this recoil, as I've said. Some actual bolts in here, I think they're 8mm as well, there's a few around here. Sorry if you can see my breath tonight, watch this. Not sure if you can see that, I can. It's very cold in here tonight, so I'm just going to undo these. Hopefully this recoil will lift off. I'm not sure if the tank lifts off with it, I can't remember, but we'll take these parts out. We'll just count how many there are. There's 1, 2, and I think there's a third one. Yeah, there's 3 there. Those 3 should come out, and hopefully this whole thing will lift off the recoil cover anyway, and this actual tank. I'll just undo these. And before I drop these down, these are really easy to drop, by the way. I've done these a few times, not for a while, but I remember dropping one down these little holes actually into where the pull start rope is, and having to take the whole thing apart, I think. So I'll take this last one out of here, keeping an eye on it. What I like to do is I have a little telescopic magnet thing here. I like to try and just pick them out at the end like that, so I'm not dropping them down the hole. I'll try not to make the same mistake twice. So that's there. Not sure if that one's undone quite enough, so I'll just take that one out a little bit more. Certainly don't want to lose any parts on here, so just grab hold of that, and that's these 3 out. So I've got my socket in there, I'm just doing my best to keep the actual tool off this deck as to not mark it as well. It's in very nice condition this. It's actually got a battery on and a key start. All starts and runs really nicely as well. As I tried it earlier, had a few little goes with it, and the self-drive's still working nicely. Just back that bolt out of there, just got my finger on that. Don't drop that down either. There's like a windmill underneath here where the blade sits, and it can easily drop into there, so keep that safe as well. This whole petrol tank now should be able to move away. I think what I'm going to do with this, I'm actually going to unclip this fuel line here and clamp this off. I'm going to move the whole petrol tank out of the way so I can easily get this recoil off. So I'm just going to get some pliers and slide this little clip down here. This fuel line looks quite old actually, it could maybe do with replacing as well. You can see it's starting to get worn, there's quite a bit of dirt on there. Doesn't look too bad underneath, but it's quite hard, and at some point that is going to want replacing. And this actual tube here that goes to the back of the air filter box, all this rubber's started to go hard as well, so I'll have to be real careful with that, and as I say, at some point that will want replacing as well. So I'm going to clamp this fuel line off. I've got some forceps here, they're not straight ones, I've ordered some better ones, they're only cheap, but see Mick's Mower's got a big pair of these and he clamps these fuel lines off, and he keeps telling me to buy some, so I've bought some anyway. If you haven't subscribed to Mick's Mowers, have a look over there as well. His channel's excellent, he's doing videos almost daily. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm just going to actually just gently prise off this fuel line from this side here. There may be a little bit of fuel drop out, so I'm just going to get myself pop it under here first, and we'll just take the rest of that off there. And see, just a tiny little bit comes out, and this forceps actually do a great job. You can see how they've clamped the fuel line. There's nothing else coming out of there, so that's a great tip. As I said, I got that one from Mick's Mower, so thanks for that, Mick. That's a real good, I mean these aren't brilliant, these were like £2, so that's great, that's a lot easier. I was using mole grips before, so I've just slid the whole petrol tank away now, and I can, this pull cord's actually retracted. I had to move this back down just to get the actual petrol tank out of the way. I've now got full access to this recoil cover, so I can take it off and we'll see what dirt's in here. So I'm just going to zip these off with the impacts. Got an extender on here. I'll just take these off, make it a little bit quicker. At the front as well, slightly bigger, the one at the front, I think that's going to be a 12, so 2 10s at the side and a 12 at the front. This looks like a 13 at the front. Take that one out. I think that's actually a head bolt as well, goes through it. Still got something bolted on here. Eventually this whole thing has come away. Bit fiddly that, but more time consuming than the actual Briggs Classic, but I want to have a look in here and see what sort of mess there is, and we're going to clean all this out because it wants a real good service. There's a lot of grass in here, wants to come out of the cup where it connects and starts, so all this wants to come out. Not ideal doing it in the garage, I want to do this outside ideally. I wanted to bring this in the garage and get on with it tonight, and just all this sort of stuff here, all these leaves and everything that collects around the cooling fins and around the carb. I'll have a look at the ignition coil and make sure that's all set up nicely as well, but you can just see it's just wanting a little bit of a service. There's a lot of grass on this. The bottom of it, as I said, was a mess, and it just generally wants a really good clean and tidy up and a good blowout as well. And I'll show you where the kill switch is on this Quantum engine as well. You can see here at the front you've got the ignition coil, and you've also got the setup at the back. This connects up to the battery. This has got a key start on, as I said, electric start, and the battery actually sits in this little box in here. Put that back in there, right. But this is the electric start. Basically this pops up and it helps just turn the flywheel and it'll start. So all that's set up right, so I know that's working okay. I just wanted to show this kill switch at the back of here. You can see there that's a little bit dirty, wants cleaning up a little bit. It doesn't look too bad, so I'll give that a clean up as well. We'll just clean up everything we can get to in here. I'm going to take this off here, just really carefully take this off here. I'm just going to clean all these parts up as well. So this bends up towards me. I'm going to give all this a little clean off as well. So I'm going to put these in my little parts tray here. And this has been serviced every year, as I've said, so there's still a lot of dirt in here to say it's been serviced every single year. So I'm going to give this a real good clean up. I'm just going to show you around it as I do as well. I'm just going to remove all this lot as well. I'm just going to explain why this all really wants to go clean out. As I said, these linkages that go here, this actually runs to a linkage that runs under the flywheel here and to this actual governor arm here. You can probably just see on the back there how much dirt there is beginning to build up around the back of here. If this stops moving freely, it's going to stop actually doing its job and actually governing the engine, and you'll get sort of hunting and surging issues. So this all needs to be really clean around the back of here. You can see I'm just going to poke some of this out of here, and this is all running, all this stuff's running right where these linkages are, right where some of the connectors are as well. So you really want this all as clean as you can get this. I'm going to spend some time cleaning this out. So I've just had a little clean round. I've just put this in the carb to stop any dirt going down there. Keep your eye on the gasket if you do this, but the main purpose of me cleaning round, apart from to cleaning all these cooling fins, was to make sure that all this moves freely, because as I said, it connects everything at the back as well through these linkages. And I've cleaned out right around here where you can see everything moves. Everything moves nice and freely. Now nothing's going to get stuck. There's quite a lot of dirt under this governor arm starting to drag as well, and you must get this clean. As I said, this kill switch here, if you move this handle at the top here, this safety handle here, this actually swings away from the side on this. You can see that, how it disconnects, and it's when it disconnects it actually allows spark. So if it doesn't disconnect, you won't get spark, your lawnmower won't run. And this just works, as I've said, by pressing this. So when you operate it, you'd normally lift that up and it moves it away slightly from the kill switch. So if you're having starting problems on a Quantum, the kill switch may be on the side like that, so be sure to check that. Be sure to check all these linkages fit here as well. I'll just get as close as I can without going out of focus to some of these linkages. This one goes over the top and then under here. I'll get in here and have a nice close-up look as well. All these, how they connect, and the throttle at the front as well. You can see how it all goes in over the top there. This was the one that was slightly protruding into the actual recoil as well. So everything's nice and tidy. All the springs, linkages are moving nice and freely. They weren't moving that freely before. I don't need to do the carb on this because it's running fantastic. Starts up straight away and it actually idles at a really slow speed without stalling as well. The electric starts it sort of first go as well, so I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just cleaning in I mean, look at all that lot, that's just what I've picked out from under the governor really. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time cleaning some of this up, and I've got some of these parts to clean up as well before I put these back on as well. We don't want any of this going through anywhere and making a mess, so I'm going to clean these up So as I'm putting parts back together, I'm just going to clean all these off as well. You can see once again all this around here. Don't want any of this getting in the car because this is going to cause running problems in the future. So if you're servicing one of these up, just put every part you put back on, just clean it up as you go. Make sure everything's clean and tidy that goes back on. And I'd always have a look at the primer bulb as well. Just make sure, see how it retracts properly, it comes back real quick like that. Hey, I got some real stick on my last video for wearing these marigolds, by the way. I like them anyway, so you see how that pops back like that? You must do that. Make sure there's no splits in it or anything like that. Just something else to check as you're actually putting this back together. So next thing we're going to do is just refit this air filter box. Make sure you connect this actual breather on the back here. That must go on first. Makes it a little bit easier. Make sure everything still moves about as well. Make sure if you move the throttle as you're putting this all back, make sure that nothing gets pulled out of the way or anything gets knocked, so all these springs and linkages don't move. Just keep your eye on a few things as you're putting it back. Keep your eye on the gasket that goes to the carb behind it as well. I'm just going to put one of these in, just taking real good care with this gasket behind it. Make sure we'll just start these finger tight. I'm just taking my time with this because I want to make absolutely sure that the gasket doesn't get damaged, because this goes through the air filter box through the gasket that's actually on the front of the carb. I want to make sure that this goes through and doesn't damage the gasket at all. We get it nice and even before we tighten anything up. We'll make sure we do these by hand as well. Don't want to use any impact tools on this. Don't want to strip any threads or over tighten anything. Just take your time. Make sure everything's nice and neat. No gaskets are getting broken in the process and everything stays in the same position. Use a bit of common sense when tightening these up. This throttle doesn't work at the minute because I actually have undone this little screw at the front here, so if I tighten that back up here before I put the recoil on, I just want to check that nothing else has got in the way and knocked this out of position. I don't want to put everything back together just at the minute, so I'll check. So I want to keep my eye on this, make sure everything moves, which it does. It's doing exactly what it should do. Make sure all this moves about, which it does. This governor arm moves much easier than it did before, and so do all these springs. So this should run really nicely. It did run nicely before, to be fair, but if you don't service these things over a few more years, it won't take much for all this grass to get in here behind this governor and into all these springs before this mower won't run correctly at all. This is a really nice mower. It's got a really nice engine on. It's got a rear roller on the back as well, and it's a big cut. I'm not sure what it is. I presume it's 19 inches because it's a 19 SE. It's a really big mower, all on lifting it on the bench, to be honest. And once again, before you put anything back on like this, just clean all this off as well. All this don't want to be going through the air filter. This air filter just pushes in here, by the way. I'm going to fit a new one of those. I have a new one to fit that's coming in the post, so for now I'm going to refit that one, but there will be a new one going on there now we've cleaned around all this area. So for now, till this new one comes in the post, just hook this on at the bottom here. 3 little tabs, that goes in there like that. And we'll get a screwdriver. We'll just tighten this back up. And it's always worth, really, just fitting a new air filter. They're only cheap to buy. And especially if you've serviced the carb as well, you don't want all this going back through. It's just been worth taking the top off and just filming a video here, just to help anyone out who's sort of messed with these linkages, because if you've taken the whole carb off and you've lost a few pieces, or you're not sure which way around something goes, this video could be really helpful. If it is, leave me a comment in the comment section. So that's all back together. I'm going to fit the recoil back on again and put this petrol tank back on, and then I'm going to show you this lawnmower running as well. I'll just show you exactly what it runs like, and I'll show you the key start as well. Got all this back together now. Let's just give this a bit of a fire up and make sure this still runs. I've not knocked anything out of place. So we know the primer bulb's working okay. Just press this a few times. And this has got this key starting as well. It's all connected up as well. Battery's connected, so let's give this a go. running really nicely. In fact, I even forgot to put this actual throttle up to the highest speed and started that at the lowest speed. It still started first go. So, great mower. As I said, I'm not sure of the age of it, so leave me a comment in the comment section and have a guess. We'll see if we can work it out when I give this customer it back. I'll ask him when he thinks he bought that. But lovely Quantum XTL 50. Starts on the key, first turn. What a great mower, and it just shows why you want to get these serviced every year. He's probably had this, I reckon he's had this 20 years probably. It might have cost him a lot of money initially, but with the right servicing it's lasted him, I reckon, a good 20-25 years. I did actually consider putting another pull cord on it. It's not frayed or anything, it's just a little bit dirty. It doesn't really need replacing. And then I came to the conclusion there wasn't much point, because it starts so well on the electric start, you'll never need the pull cord. It's kind of a backup in case the battery's flat, which I don't imagine very often that it will be. So let's get this key here. So I'm going to give this customer this lawnmower back once I've given it a little bit of a clean up. So I've just given this Atco a bit of a clean up, put this all back together. I've no idea what age it is. I'm no good at doing these serial numbers, but I'll film this because you get a few people who can read these, who know what year it is. Be my guest to leave it in the comments section. I would imagine it's some mid to late 90s. I would imagine. Looks like quite an old mower. A Viscount 19 SE. It's nice and serviced. I've done the underside of that on the blade. I've changed the oil. Just put a new plug in it and checked everything right round. The only thing I haven't needed to do is the carb, because this runs great. I've just given it a clean up for the customer, and hopefully this video might just show someone where the linkages and springs go if you've taken them off on this Quantum XTL 50 Briggs & Stratton lawnmower. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.